I think it is a great honor and pleasure for me to welcome you all to this important and timely workshop entitled Why Policies Fail Integrating Data and Human Behavior. First and foremost, I would like to extend my highest appreciation to our distinguished speakers, Ms. Yuyu Nurani Harun, Mr. Renato Mendes Servi, and Desi Sari Ayuni, all of them from University of Sussex, United Kingdom. And then Mr. Rifial Dahlawi Khalil, Mr. Safwan Kamal, and Ms. Mutia Sumarni. They are from FEBI IAIN Langsa. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude our moderator for session 1 and session 2, Ms. Khairun Nisan, thank you very much, and Ms. Fischa Maini Asri for their willingness to guide and enrich the discussion through this workshop. Ladies and gentlemen, I also wish to thank the organizing committee for their dedication in preparing this meaningful academic forum. This workshop is not only academically enriching, but also highly relevant in addressing real-world challenges in development policy. In the field of development economic, policy failure is often not merely the result of weak data or flawed technical analysis. Rather, it frequently stems from limited understanding of human behavior. Many policies appear sound in theory but fail in the practice because they overlook psychological, social, and cultural dimension of human decision-making. Therefore, integrating data-driven analysis with behavioral insight is not just beneficial, it's essential. This workshop represents a valuable platform to bring this perspective, combining economic analysis with psychological understanding. As a student and scholar, we must not only be capable of interpreting data, but also of understanding the human realities behind that data. As an academic institution, particularly within the Faculty of Islamic Economics and Business, we are committed to nurturing graduates who are not only intellectually competent, but also socially aware and analytically comprehensive. Activities like this workshop play a crucial role in strengthening those capacities. I sincerely hope that all participants will benefit for this session by enhancing their practical data analysis skill, gaining deeper insight into behavioral biases in decision-making, and developing more realistic and context-sensitive policy recommendations. As a keynote speaker, allow me to emphasize that the success of policy depends not only what is designed, but also how people respond to it. In other words, effective policy must be engaged with human behavioral realities. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Quran, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, "Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqaumin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim." Indeed, Allah not change the condition of the people until they change what is in themselves. This is in Surah Ar-Ra'd in verse 11. This verse highlights the fundamental principle. Meaningful change and successful policies are deeply connected to human behavior and internal transformation. In conclusion, I encourage all participants to actively engage in this workshop and make the most of this valuable opportunity. May this event contribute significantly to our shared pursuit of knowledge and the advancement of better, more effective policies for society. Thank you very much for your attention. That's all for me. And the last I say, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Amin, for your opening remarks. And before we start into the material sessions, I would like to kindly ask our participants to please open your camera for a photo session. Please show your best smiles. Mr. Safwan will take the photo for us. We can't hear you, Mr. Safwan. Sorry. Mr. Safwan, we can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, hello. Okay,
Yes.
okay. Please, all participant, open your camera. I would like to take and give the best smile in this moment. Yeah. Wait, wait. Please wait. Here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 for slide 1. After that, slide 2. 1, 2, 3. Slide 3. 1, 2, 3. Slide 4. 1, 2, 3. Slide 5. 1, 2, 3. Slide 6. 1, 2, 3. Alhamdulillah. Have finished, Mrs. Faira?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Safwan. And for all participants, you will be provided with an e-certificate, but the link for certificate will be given towards the end of this webinar. So you have to stay until the end for you to have received a certificate. Okay, let's. Our first speaker for today would be Miss Desi Sari Ayuni. She is the graduate of our own FEBA and Langsa, and she's currently pursuing an MSc in Development Economics at the University of Sussex. She has professional experience as a finance staff in the private sector and is currently contributing as a data analyst from the United Nations Volunteer Program. And she has also participated in international forums such as International Model United Nations, where she discussed global poverty and crisis issues. So please welcome Ms. Desi Sari Ayuni. The time is yours. You can directly share your any materials for today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss. Thank you, Bu. Okay. Let me share the screen first. The material. Okay, right. Is it appear on your screen right now?
You can see it.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much for all of the attendance today. Thank you so much for all participants today, including my friend, wherever you are. I'm so appreciated because you are here. Even my friend from Japan, Australia, and also here. Thank you so much, and big appreciate for my university before in EIN Langsa, and thank you so much for my teacher. Thank you so much for all of my teacher when you are teaching me in undergraduate. today I really nervous right now because I should because I should give the presentation about the economic in Indonesia, and I would like to talk about the economic context of Indonesia today. So we know that before we before we talking deeply about the economic, we should know about the geographic and demographic of Indonesia before. And we know that Indonesia is located in Southeast Asia, and that is one of the world's largest archipelagic states. And we have like over 17,000 island in Indonesia. And we know that the population in Indonesia is very huge because we have like 277 million people living in Indonesia. That's very huge. Population. And I don't want to talk deeply about the demographic and about the population in Indonesia because there is many articles that we can find in Google, that we can find in journal and article. So maybe it could be better if we can search by our own self. And today I would like to talk about the policy, especially about the academic. And I would like to ask you, all of the participants, why do good policies failed? Because let me start with a simple but important paradox today, because we know like Indonesia has experienced stable economic, and we know that the economic growth of Indonesia that is around 5% for many years, and this is stable and stagnant uh like around 2 decades until right now. And but the problem is that appear in our appear in our brains, why the poverty in Indonesia still exists and why the inequality remains stable until right now. That's the problem that we can't solve today, and we would like to talk about this deeply. Okay. And also, I would like to tell about the economic growth and also welfare today. And I provide the data that I collect from the World Bank, and also I compare to the data that I collect from the Badan Pusat Statistik in Indonesia, that is from the Ministry of Indonesia. And right, we can see that the differences between the real GDP growth and also the real GDP per capita growth in Indonesia, that is very not very huge differences, because the real GDP growth and real GDP per capita more stable and stagnant. But we have a bit of problem between 1996 and 2000. I think like everyone know what is the problem that happened in this year, because we have like financial crisis in this term. So that's why the economic growth in this term is very low. That is the reason why we have decreasing on our economic growth and also GDP per capita in Indonesia. All right. And and also I would like to tell about the reframing the problem that appear in Indonesia. We know that. Do you think like the economic growth in Indonesia is very enough to make sure that poverty can be disappear in our land in Indonesia? I would like to ask everyone in here. Maybe you can open your microphone and you can answer my question right now. Do you think the economic growth in Indonesia is enough for us, or we should need more action to make sure that our economic is more stable in the future? Can anyone answer my question maybe?
Ayo, ada yang mau jawab?
Maybe the student from the IAIN Langsa, you can raise your hand and try to answer my question, especially from the economic or in FEBI faculty. I know you know about this. Maybe you just be more confident to answer this question? Is anyone to answer this question? Okay, don't worry.
They're all
Okay,
shy.
yeah, I think so. Um, I think like if we're talking about the economic, is a very very huge gap between the economic growth and also the economic GDP in Indonesia and something like that. And we know that the growth of economic in Indonesia is very strong, but the outcomes and the output still remain unstable and also unequal. And the problem is the economic growth can occur alongside structural inequality, where certain groups or regions benefit more than others. And that is the main reason why sometimes everyone it's very hard or it's very difficult to find the job, and inequality for the education and also the financial resources is very unstable. The poor people maybe have a bit hard to find the education and the special jobs, but the wealthy people, that's very easy to find the job because they have sources or among their society. That's a that's very very common in Indonesia, especially in our country. So that's why we want to talk about this deeply, and we want to solve this problem by the data and also by the policy that we can give to our student today. And yeah, like I told you before, maybe the growth is very strong in our Indonesia, but the problem is, the economic growth is very increased year by year. But the problem is the poverty still remain unstable and the poverty still very 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 high. But we should remember that the growth of economic is not equal to inclusive development, and also we should remember that the reason why this has happened in Indonesia because of many things, such as the structural inequality and also uneven distribution and also the limited access of education and also jobs and financial resources that, like I told you before. Okay. And talking about this, it's very interesting to talk about where I'm living in Indonesia, that is Aceh. Because I want to give you some example of Indonesia, especially in Aceh. We know that Aceh has autonomy fund. Aceh has autonomy fund, that is we call it outsource funds, and we know that this is given by our government, Indonesian government, and we have it since 2008 until 2027, and it could be end until next year. And you know what? I think like if we have this fund, it should be the government should manage this fund is very productive and it's very effective. But the truth is the government can control this money, and we'll see. Aceh still remain unstable for the poverty, and also the poverty rate still increased in Aceh. So that's why I'm still considering what is happened in Indonesia and Aceh. Maybe that is my last statement from me talking about the economic, and we will talk deeply about the data, and my friend will present about that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Ayuni, for giving us a reality check that not all policies can decrease the poverty numbers in Indonesia. And now the second speaker, Mr. Servin, will introduce us to STATA. STATA is a tool for data analysis. So maybe we are really familiar with AViews or SPSS, but there's also one emerging data analysis tools which will be introduced by Mr. Serupin to us. It is called STATA. Okay, please wait a minute. Mr. Serupin is from Paraguay, and he is currently pursuing an MSc in Development Economics, also in the University of Sussex. And he holds a bachelor degree in economics and has completed diplomas in economic theory and higher education. Professionally, he has worked as an economic consultant and is also a lecturer in applied econometrics. Please welcome Mr. Renato Mendes Servin. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. The time is yours. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. No, it's okay. Don't worry. Yes, I will do a little presentation about STATA. First of all, thank you for the invitation to Sari and everyone. So let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah. No, we can't.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. No.
No?
Yeah, right now, yes. I
Yes?
can see you.
Okay, so this is, I will do a short introduction about what is STATA, and we will do like a little application exercise using GDP growth from Indonesia. So if you have any question, just ask. You can ask, and I will be seeing like the Zoom call, so you can just talk because I will be seeing this screen only. So if you have any question, you can just ask. Okay. Okay, this is. Let me know if you can see it. Okay. I will do like first a little presentation about what is STATA and what is it used for. STATA is a statistical software and it can be used for data manipulation and visualization, as we're going to see in a while. It also can be used for descriptive and advanced statistical analysis and also automated reporting that is about the regression that we are going to run, for example, today, among other things. And the really good thing about this is that can be applied in different fields, not only have to be in economics. Like today, we're going to be an apply exercise in economics, but this can also be done in an education context. For example, if you have like a new program of education in Indonesia and you want to estimate the impact of that program in some determined population, you can use also STATA for doing this. Another thing is you can use it in a health context. For example, if you want to analyze the effectiveness of some vaccine in, I don't know, can be like the mortality rate or some specific disease. So it's really like an overall thing. You can apply data into like every context, not only about economics or finances, can be applied like in different topics. So that's like a really good advantage. And talking about the data interface, let me show you a little bit. So this is the command window. Like here is when where you have to write like the thing. For example, I write CLS, that is for erase everything. Here is the windows of the results. When you write the command, and as we're going to see now, you write the command and the results of the regression, for example, will appear here. Here is like a history of everything that you have done. For example, I only make one command now, so there is only one CLS. Here you can select the variables. Now we don't have any variables, but I will introduce the data set, and then you can see also and the properties. Like here tells you more about the type of data. For example, it can be like a integral number, or can be like a decimal number, or it can be like an actual word, like a category, man, female, or something like that. So let me upload the data. Oh, first, there are mainly two types of the files in Stata. One is the do file that allows saving and executing command in a reproducible way and in a sequential way. Like this, what you are seeing now is a do file. So what I did, like, it's not that I'm making the commands now. what I will do is like I made this do file before here, so I only have to run it. Like I just have to highlight this and then press the regress button, so it can be like in a sequential way. I don't need to actually remember every step because I have already written that down here. So it can also write comments. That's what I'm talking. But for using like for using comments, you should use like slash, two slashes. Another way is using an asterisk, or you also can use a slash and then an asterisk. There are different ways to put comments. For example, you can see here, I use 3, I use 4. For example, I here use like an asterisk. Another thing is that STATA is also very sensitive. For example, if you are using capital letters and then the variable name is in not capital letters, then the STATA wouldn't recognize, for example, that specific command. So my recommendation is to always write the commands and the variables, or the name of the variables, in lowercase. And the second main type of STATA file is the DDA, that is the data set. Like, for example, when you have a spreadsheet in Excel, this is the same, but in terms of a STATA data set. If you have any question, you can just ask. Okay, let's get into the data set per se. So data can be loaded manually from the STATA editor. For example, here. You can write it data manually, but I have downloaded the data from the World Bank of Indonesia GDP, so I wouldn't be doing this. So I just have to upload the data, and this is a simple step. You have to go here and then import. I personally have like an Excel file, so you have to click in this one. For example, if you have a different file, you can use this when it's like a text file, and different files depending on the source. So I will upload this. And then here you can see like a little preview of what is the data. You can see I have annually data of the GDP. And another thing is when you are uploading the data, this is in Spanish, but if said in English, it is like, let's put the first file, the first row, I mean, as the name of the variable. For example, you can see here is counting year and GDP as a variable. So that's not what I'm talking about. I want year and GDP to be actually the name of the variable of each column. So when I do a check here, you can see that the year and GDP is now actually the name of the variable, and the rest is all like numbers according to year or the GDP. So here I press OK, and I can check the data here. So we have yearly data of Indonesia GDP starting from 1960, and the last info we have is for 2024. This is World Bank data, and that's what I think they still don't have the 2025, but this is recently, so it's okay. So we have 66 observations, like we have 65 years. And with this data, we are going to make some analysis, and we're going to make a short interpretation of a regression in this data about time series. Some basic commands before going there, like help command is really useful because it provides information about the specific command. For example, if I don't know how to import some data, I can write the command help, and then the command I'm interested in know how it works. So I can put help and then import, and then you can see a window will pop up, and there will be all the information that I need to know of how to import data from an outside source to STATA. And this can be used to any command if you want to do any command. Like, this is always a good start for you to know how it works, because it's like very difficult to start from nothing. So if you come here, put help command, and then start asking questions, you already have like the answer. As I mentioned before, the CLS command is to erase everything from here. It doesn't eliminate the data here. It's only like to clear up. If you have many interactions and you want to be like start from zero, then you can do the CLS command that is here. You can check like there is no data now, anything here, but the data is still here. And here is the history. So the next command is about display. This is used for quick calculations. For example, let me run all of this. This is the sequential thing that I was talking about. Like you can run many lines in just one click. You don't need to actually write everything down. So for example, I want to run from here to here, and then let's see the results window here. You can see that the two squared is 4, 5 times 10 is 50. Also, you can do like divided things, 40 divided 22. Like for quick calculation, if you don't want to actually open like a calculator, you can just do it here with the display command. Then there is a label command. Let me show you a little bit. Let me close it. You can see here is the name of the variable, and here is the label of the variable. What I always recommend people is to use like the name of the variable should be all in lower cases, because if, for example, I want to write year with a capital letter, there is unrecognized because there is nothing with that specific type. So it should be always like in the same as you write here should be the same as you write in the commands. So the label here you can see is all in lowercase now. What I will do with this command is I will change from the lowercase to an uppercase. Here you can see the form to do this is you have to use the label command. You have to talk about a variable that you are selecting. The name of my variable here is GDP in lower cases, and I want that to change to GDP in upper cases. So if you run this, now you can see it's all in upper cases, but only the label of the variable. If you want to change the name of the variable, is this way. You have to use the command rename GDP. This is like the actual name of the variable now, and this is the name of how I want it to be named. So I will change the name of GDP to GDP Indonesia. And you can see it here. Now it changed to GDP Indonesia.
Yeah.
Someone have a question? Okay, I will continue. If you have any question, you can just ask. I will get back to the previous name because it's like shorter and less easy. Okay. Then let's get some of the data now. I will skip this because of time, but you can watch it. I can send this to Desi to she can show it to you. So when you are talking about time series, the first thing you need to do is to actually tell STATA that you are working on a time series. This is using the command TSS, that is time series set. Now I have yearly data, so I want to use my yearly data. This is the name of the variable, and I want it the STATA to interpret it as a year. So let me run this command. And you can see it here. Like STATA recognize my variable year, and we have data from 1960 to 2024. And the delta means like the unit of time. In this case, as I told you, is year. But if, for example, you have like quarterly late data, like you have to change here it will be TSZ quarterly, and here quarterly. But here, as I already told you, we are talking about yearly data, so this is good. when we talk about like nominal values like money in economics, is usually to transform that data into logs because it's more intuitive to understand. For example, it'll have to you like a 1% increase in something have some determined impact in another thing. That right, if I told you, for example, an increase of $1 in something have an effect in something in another thing. So when you do the log transformation, you stop talking about like the level of the variable, and you stop talking about like the percentage change. That is really more intuitive, as if you don't have like the baseline of the currency, for example. So I will create the variable with the command gen, and then you have to put the name of the variable. I wanted to call ln GDP, that is natural logarithm of GDP. And this is the way that you can create a variable. Here I'm telling Stata that I want to create the logarithm of this variable. And this is going to be the name of the variable. Here you can see I run this. And now I have like a new variable here. Then I want to create like the first lag of that variable. The first lag is, for example, if we are now in 2024, the last value is going to be 2023. So this is what it called like an auto-regressive model. Let me show you so we can be more clear. I now create like the lag variable, and if you go into the data, you can see that it's actually just the past value of the variable. You can see that is one missing value, but because that's understandable, because our data set begins from 1960, that means that I don't have data from 1959. So there will always, when you create like a lag variable, it's going to be always one missing value because you cannot go back more in the time as the data you have. So the first data I have is 1960. I don't have data for 1959. So that's the reason why there is like a missing value. That's normal when you work in lags term. Let me skip also this because I want to show you like the regression. Okay, so how you run a command here in STATA is with the command regress. First, you have to put the name of the dependent variable, and then you put all the rest of the variables, but that are independent in this case. So here, running this command, I want to know how the past value of the log GDP of the last year is influential or is associated with the GDP this year. So I run this command, and let's wait for a minute. It's generated the regression. Okay, so this is the data output, right? So how can you interpret this? This is like as this is in log terms, this stop being analyzed in an increase in US dollars, for example. This is start talking about like a percentage that I was talking. So a 1% increase in the GDP last year is associated with 0.99 increase of the GDP this year. This is how you interpret this, because it's all in like they are both in logarithm terms. So the how you interpret the data is like straightforward because they are on the same log level. If one is, for example, in a like a variable level, for example, income, and you have logs, you have to make some transformations. But in this case, as both variable, as the one that is like the dependent or the independent are both in the same category, then you can just interpret this as it is. So it's an increase in 1% of the GDP last year is associated with an increase of 0.99 of the GDP this year. How can you tell about if this is like a statistical significant or no? There are like three ways. So you can, these are the three ways. So you can first look at the T-stat. If this T-stat is greater than the T-student table that I think you all see sometimes, So if this is greater than, for example, I don't know, 1.96, then you can reject the null hypothesis. That the null hypothesis is that this coefficient is equal to 0 statistically. So now we can reject that. And as it's different from 0 statistically, then you can say it's like significant. Like you cannot reject the null hypothesis in these cases. You can reject, sorry. Another way to analyze this is watching the p-value. The p-value is like the inverted way. Like you want here to be this less than 0.0001, for example. And if you also can reject the null hypothesis looking at this, or you can also reject the null hypothesis looking at the 95 confidence interval. So as long as the range of the values that the variable can take it's outside 0, then the coefficient will be statistically significant because it cannot have 0 like in the middle. For example, if you check like the constant, you can see that here has negative values, but it also can have positive values. So in that case, you cannot reject the null hypothesis because the possibility of being 0 is still there. So, and you can also see here, like this is greater than 0.01, and this is lower than 1.96. So there are different ways to interpret this. All of them give you the same results. So in this case, the lateral logarithm of the GDP last year is statistically significant in the GDP this year. But okay,
Hey,
this
Mr.
have like
Mendes.
what?
Hey, excuse me. The time is almost up for you. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was off. Don't worry. I was not sharing. That was it. Don't worry.
Okay. I'm sorry. Due to the time constraints, we had to shorten your sessions, and I'm sure that it has already make us very intrigued for the using of STATA, but maybe the faculty can ask Mr. Mendes for other two next sessions for giving us a thorough demonstration of using STATA because it's really, really interesting as an alternative tools for using so that the students of FEBI not only use SPSS or abuse, they can now move on to using STATA. Maybe we can ask Mr. Mendes for giving the guest lecture or something like that. Okay, next we go on to the next speaker, which is Miss Yuyun Nurani Harun. Are you here, Miss Yuyun?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Okay. Yeah, Miss Yuyun is currently pursuing an MSc in Occupational and Organizational Psychology at the University of Sussex. She also served as the head of human capital at PPI UK. PPI is what it stands for, where is actively involved in student organizational development. And today she will be presenting on the topic integrating human behavior into policy design.
Yeah.
I noticed there was some questions about human behavior, but addressed to Mr. Mendes. But I think it is more suitable for Miss Yuyun later. Okay, Miss Yuyun, without further ado, the time is yours.
Thank you for giving me time. First of all, I wanna share screen my PPT. Can you all see my screen?
Not yet.
Miss. Not yet. Okay, cool. Can you guys see now? Okay.
Still not yet. Still loading.
Still loading. Oh my god. Perhaps it is because our connection here
Bu, boleh nanti kan. Can I send the PPT of Yuyun to Bukaira Tunisa? I think we have a
Okay.
problem with that.
Okay.
All right.
Bu moderator, sambil nunggu tampilan layar, boleh nggak bertanya ke Bapak Renato?
What?
Okay, I already sent it to Bukaira Tunisa.
Okay. Is it visible?
No, still not working.
Miss
Still. Oh
Yuyun?
yeah, right now, yes. Yes.
Yeah, Miss Yuyun. The time is yours.
Hello everyone. I hope that you guys have a good time with our workshop now and enjoying it as well. I am Yunarani Harun, but I really love to be called by Yuna. It is like my another name here. And today I'm gonna talking about integrating human behavior into policy design with a psychological perspective. So, for integrating human behavior into policy is crucial because as nudge theory by Thaler and Sustains in 28 suggests that small changes in how choices are presented can significantly alter human behavior and policy outcomes. Anyway, can anyone hear my voice? Okay. So the data versus reality gap. Why do policies fail? It is like questions that always pop up in our mind. They are built on bounded rationality. While fiscal data looks efficient, it ignores the human responses. Policies usually just based on numbers like budget savings through contractual systems, and now in Indonesia they cut off the money to the other industry, I mean government industry. And according to Lazarus transactional model of stress, employees do not react to the policy itself, but to their perception. Now, if a policy is perceived as a threat, it triggers anxiety that overrides any intended administrative efficiency. So the people usually just give a react to the policy that become like an anxiety for them because sometimes the policy doesn't fit them well. It's like for the instance, for contractual hearing in Indonesia, we know as P3K, 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 sorry. It's like a contractual employee in government. And also we need psychological contract to build policy. A key theory here is the psychological contract that the neglected psychological contract will low if they we need engagement to make the psychological contract suitable with the policy that government gives to us. And if the neglected psychological contract doesn't feel, then the result is low engagement towards the employee and the turnover being high toward the employee. Psychological contract theory by Rousseau in 1995 say that policy is more than a written document. It represents unwritten expectation of reciprocity. When policies like non-pensionable contracts violate these expectations, and the research by Townley and Feldman says that a direct correlation is still in slide 3, sorry. Yeah. Research by Thornley and Feldman says that a direct correlation with increased turnover in tension and a significant drop in organizational citizenship behavior. So, next slide, please. Okay, we have a case study here with job insecurity in public sector. And currently I am conducting the research about job insecurity in P3K or contractual employee in government in my island, North Maluku. The study by SERF defined that this is a major stressor that negatively impacts mental health as well. And furthermore, we can look into the data in India that showing that almost 47% of government workers in India are on a contractual basis. That demonstrates this is a global issue which fails to mitigate psychological risks. So so the policy like contractual basis usually can harm the employee well-being and will increase job insecurity toward the employee. So that's why sometimes government sometimes they build policy not human-centered. That's why we need human-centered to make policies. And yeah, the solution or the mediation, like what I said before, we need human-centric policy to make a better policy to make better economics world in Indonesia. So that's why we also must use work engagement. If you guys know about work engagement, it is a theory that we need to make the employee feel more like love the work that we have currently and like engage to the work, I mean. So based on the job demands resources, it is one of theory about work engagement. Even when job demands like insecurity are high, providing the right psychological resources can maintain engagement and protect the employees' well-being as well. And next slide, please. Okay, in conclusion, policy is not just about the rules, but however, it's also about the people. So that's why we need human-centric for build any policies, not only for economics, but also in every field. And as Guy said in his classical theory, say that organizational effectiveness is only possible when policies are integrated with human resources outcomes. If we ignore behavior, we ignore the very engine that makes policy work. Perhaps that's all for me. And if you guys have a question, just pop up, just write it down on the chat section, or you can ask directly here. Thank you so much for the time.
Okay, thank you for all our speakers today. Now we move on to the Q&A sessions. Any of you want to ask directly? Miss Sally, you want to ask something to Mr. Mendes?
Yes, I want to ask some basic
Okay,
question.
the time is yours, Miss Sally.
Thank you, Mrs. Madam Khaira. Okay, how are you, Sari and Yaya, right? Yaya or Yuyun?
Yun.
Yuna.
Yuyun.
For make it
Okay.
simple, just call me Yuna.
Oh, Yuna. Okay, Yuna.
Yeah.
We are so proud because we have learned and heard. Today, we are learning from you. Not, bukannya balik beberapa tahun yang lalu ya. Jadi sekarang gantian kita. Malah kami yang belajar dari Sari sama Yuyun. Okay, how are you, Mr. Renato? So, my question is, I have never used STATA before. There is a basic question that I would like to ask. And then, by the way, you speak twice faster than our speak. Maybe I get so many loss. Please answer my basic. Is it necessary to perform a data normalization test in STATA if we are using secondary data? It's like the example of that GDP. And then my second question is, the end of the data that you are using is the year of 20 and 24. So the result that you show is that interpretation for only in years of 2025 or for the next few years? That's my question. Thank you for this opportunity.
Hi. Related to your last question, no, it's not about like the prediction of the future. It's not about like how will be the GDP growth in 2025, for example. It's like an average thing. So if you want to make predictions, there is like another way to do it. So you can do prediction like inside of the sample, or outside of the sample. For example, if you want to be how sure of your accuracy, for example, of your regression, you can do like a within test. So, for example, let's say I have data until 2024, but I can just have the data for 2020, let's say, and I can predict the data for the 2021 to 2024, and then I can contrast how my prediction is related to the actual number. You know, so that's like a within sample. And if I want to predict like the future, I can do the same, but thinking about 2025, 2026, 2027, and like I don't know if I answered your question or it was another thing.
Yeah. But so we just write the comment like that.
Well,
If that for the prediction, so this is means the prediction years, right? about the GDP result of the next years. Is it like that or?
No. If you want to make a prediction, there is like a different way. This is to know. This is like to get a sense of how much of the GDP growth of the last year can influence the GDP growth of this year. Like
Yeah.
there's only one like, but it is not only like 2023 to 2024. It is also like 2022 to 2033. It's like 2020 to 2021. It's always like a 2 year thing, but it's not like a specific year. It's like the average of everything, because you are taking into account like the from this 1960 to the 2024. So it is not like a prediction thing. It's more of like how much of the GDP last year can influence into the GDP this year, but not a specific year. Like the important thing here is like the gap. There is 1 year gap in the analysis.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much, sir. If you have a model, can you send to us so we can read?
Yeah, I can send the do file and the Excel file of the data, so you can try it if you want on your own.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Sally and Mr. Mendes. Any other questions? Any one of you who want to ask? Okay, Alicia Wickford, you raise your hand.
Hi, I have a question for Desi about Indonesia. Do you think that even though there are high growth rates, the high rate of natural disasters disproportionately affects low earners, which is what's driving the widening inequality?
All right. Thank you so much for my Alicia. I would like to answer the question that you asked me before, and the answer is yes, because there is many strong evidence that happen in Indonesia, like the frequent natural disaster that happen in Indonesia, especially in Aceh, that makes do this proportionately uh, hurt our income, and that's make our income is more lower year by year, and that's lead to make widen inequality and even during the periods of high growth. So the natural disaster that happened in Aceh and also in Indonesia, that's lead our economic more lower, even the periods of high growth is happen in this term. So the lower earners are more exposed, for example, like living in flood, and also like the earthquake always happen, and have fewer saving or insurance to recover, and depend on informal work. Like we know in Indonesia, everyone or every workers very depends on the informal sector, because you only have several formal sectors. So that's why sometimes that is the reason why the economic in Indonesia still not growing up, or still remain stagnant or unstable. That's my answer for Alicia Wickford. Is it okay
Thank
for the
you.
answer?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got one question here in the chat box. It is how can policies remain adaptive to changing human behavior? It is addressed to Mr. Mendes, but I think it's more suitable to be answered by Miss Yuyun.
No.
How can policies remain adaptive to changing human behavior? The question is for Anfon. Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the question again?
The question is how can policies remain adaptive to changing human behavior? So human behavior change, but how can the policies adaptive to them?
Okay, cool. Thank you for the question. For anyone that give that, I'm gonna try to answer the question. So, because human behavior is not universal, however, it changes based on the context, and the policies will remain adaptive when they account for cultural fluidity, like recognizing that a policy, for example, for P3K or for contractual employee might need different behavioral nudges. Yep, and in a high collectivism area like our country, Indonesia especially, compared to a more individualistic urban setting like in the Europe and the UK. So we need like recognizing which one or where we are to make the policies adaptive to the behavior, to the human behavior. And also we can using like small non-coercive policy adjustment to align organizational goals with natural human tendencies. And also we can use qualitative depth in a depth, and we can make a question with why behind the what, like why the government make the policy like contractual employees, etc., and what it behind that. And also we need to adaptive the policies require qualitative narrative as well. Yeah, is it answer the question or you need more or something?
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yuyun. And for all the participants, don't forget to fill in the attendance list, which you can find it in the chat box. And we also have two more questions in the chat box. The first one is from Zikri Maulana, students in the Islamic Economic Department. I don't know who should answer these questions. I think it's applicable to the three of you, anyone who wants to answer it. The question is, wait a minute. In many cases of policy failure, the available data is actually quite good and valid, yet the policy still fails to achieve its objectives. So, because it overlooks the human behavior, as you said before, the data is sufficient and valid, but the policy still fails because it overlooks the human behavior. And from the research methodology perspective, how can we design a research approach that systematically identifies the friction points between what the data demands and how the human behave? So to combining between what the data demands and how the human behaves, what research methods or designs are most appropriate to bridge this gap before the policy is fully implemented? So that's the questions. For the three of you who wants to answer it, maybe. The context is there are enough and valid data, but it still fails in implementation. So he wants to relate it to if we use research method, what kind of method or study design that can be used to bridge between this data and the policy failure, maybe.
Maybe if we are talking about the research method, it could be better if we listen from the Renato because he is a very expert in this part. So maybe Renato, can you answer this question about the research method? Which one the best method that we can use to apply in this situation right now? Thank you.
Hi. Yes, I think there is no like a correct answer here because it's always depending on the context. And the thing with economics is that we can never be 100% sure of anything. Like we are always kind of missing things that we cannot actually check because of their uncertainty. There are always like external factors that can influence the human behavior that you said yourself. So I don't think there is like a correct answer for this. And even in the best cases, a really good policy can go bad because of some constraining but specific, like for a country specific problem or external shock, as I was telling. So I don't think there is actually like a unique and perfect way to get this. But yes, there are like, for mention some of them, like randomized control trial, for example, can be and is what it goes like the closest to the perfect thing that we are going to have. It's when you have like, for example, let's say we want to make a new educational program, and let's say we have 10 people, and 5 of them are going to be part of the program, and the other 5 are going to be part of the control group, for example. So we want to measure how, if they are inside of the program, if their grade, for example, upgraded. So we have like a treated group and a control group, and we can say, for example, those who were part of the treated group increased their average grade by, I don't know, 0.5 points, and related to the control group. So that's kind of like what we always want, but it's like difficult to do because, as I mentioned, there are a lot of constraints and limitations about this. I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah, and let me add more answer in this question. Maybe in my perspective, we can use like the mixed method, like behaviorally informed approach, such as like we can start with a process tracing, like to map where implementation deviates from policy design, and then after that, after we map the process, and we can combine with the RCTs or field experiments like Renato talked about the experiment. Like we have two group in one section. Uh, we have control and treatment group in one field, and we can deeply know about this by doing the experiment. And after that, maybe we can use slightly about the qualitative methods, such as we can interview some interviewers that are very understand about the field, and also we can understand what is the motivation of doing these things. And at the end of this approach, maybe I would like to say we can use the pilot programs, and we can also add a more like interactive evaluation before scaling. That is my answer for this question.
Okay, thank you very much for Miss Desi and Mr. Mendes. The last question is from Miss Nanda. Do you want to ask directly, Miss Nanda? Or I'll just read your question.
Okay, just
Miss
read the
Nanda?
question.
Okay. Yeah, Miss Nanda is also a lecturer in econometrics, so this questions really suit her. So the question is for Mr. Mendes. Could you briefly explain the advantages of the STATA application compared to other similar data processing applications such as eViews, SPSS, or RStudio? Yeah, Mr. Mendes.
yeah, yes. Hi. Actually, I kind of start from the baseline in this data, so I don't really usually use R or and the other platform. So for example, for eViews, I use a little bit of eViews, and in terms of eViews, I think like the visualization parts are really like it. There is more advantage in eViews than in Stata, for example, because it's more practical. And in Stata, for example, you have to remember the codes or you have to look up for the commands, rather than in eViews, you can just click in the window, and you can keep clicking until you get the graph you want. For example, you don't need to actually remember a command. So in terms of visualization, I think eViews is kind of more practical. I don't really know much about the other two, like the RStudio and the other. Yes, it's like they are all similar. Some, of course, someone will have some advantages in some things, but also disadvantages in something. Like the good thing will be like combine every tool you have and get the best results, right?
Can I add more some answers for that? Um, in my undergraduate, I'm not used STATA or also the AVIUS, but I'm a bit know about the STATA and also the AVIUS because I learned from my teacher in undergraduate, and thank you for that. For every teacher that teach me about the STATA and AVIUS, but I could say in here. For me, the STATA is quite difficult to learn because we should remember about many codes, we should remember about many things, and we should drop all the codes in the comment. But I could say the Stata is a very, very user friendly because when we know about the code and when we know about the do file, we just drop the do file on the comment and all the answer will pop up in your screen. And also, I could say like the Stata is very strong for the econometric methods because this is can build in advance for a model that we can use widely around the world, especially in World Bank and also in UN. This data is very very useful and it's very important to learn about this. And the third that I could say, this data is a very very reproducibility because we can make the do files, and this is can make our analysis more clear. That is my answer for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Sari and Mr. Mendes. How about Miss Nanda? Is it clear enough? Okay. So finally, we've reached the end of our webinar today. It's 20 minutes past the allocated time, so it shows us that the webinar is really, really interesting. Thank you to all participants for your enthusiasm and participation, and we also like to express our sincere gratitude to all the speakers today. Thank you for your valuable knowledge and insights, and also hopefully today's session has been beneficial for us. And don't forget to tune in for next week's session. Will be moderated by Miss Fiska. I apologize for any shortcomings during the session, and for the participants, don't forget to fill in the attendance list to get your certificate. The attendance link will be closed tonight at 23 p.m. Yeah. Thank you again. Have a pleasant weekend, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, guys.